Gunfire. We're at an Eastern European military stronghold, set within a small war-torn city. Soldiers lay siege to a base that's been overrun by a rebel faction. The rebels are keeping the military at bay, but abruptly lose radio contact with some of their operatives. We follow the rebels as they retreat into the base, losing contact with more men. In a panic, they grab a scared scientist and force him into their center, running, withdrawing away from the raging battle. Eventually, after dashing through hallways and avoiding artillery fire, the group hunkers down in a barricaded room. And we hear the shooting just beyond the doors heighten. There are screams, explosions, sounds of violence, until quiet. Then a tendril shoots through the ceiling to snatch one man away. Gunshots follow, but return fire forces the rebels to take cover. The men shout that they're not fighting a human. It can't be, after all, because it does not die. Another explosion as part of the ceiling caves in. A monstrous shadow crashes down, then rises from the smoke, showing us what the rebels face. Not a human, a demon. Venom is ruthlessly methodical, using a combination of guns and symbiotic shapeshifting to cut through his opponents. At one point, he punches through a man's chest to use him as a human shield. At another, he turns his symbiotic fluid into blades, leaving his arms partially exposed. After a few seconds of slaughter, he's cleared the room, save for the scientist. At that point, the creature approaches the lone survivor, who is nearly passed out from fear. And in that moment, said scientist is only able to ask one question.
Who are you?
To which the creature, of course, responds, Venom grabs the scientist, aka Dr. Warren, and leads him from the room while simultaneously requesting an extraction. The battle outside is still ongoing, making the area too hot for evacuation, so Venom must get Dr. Warren away from the conflict's epicenter. He leads the scientist across the battle's outskirts, avoiding the worst of the bloodshed and protecting Warren, until, abruptly, there's a loud sound like a rocket. But it's not a rocket, nor is it a glider. It's a broom. And suddenly a flying maniac riding a jet broom attacks. He uses pumpkin bombs to corral Venom and Warren into a bombed-out building, then flies in after them, using hit-and-run tactics to keep Venom at bay and separate symbiote from scientist. Flames slake the building, cracking Venom's cool and causing the symbiote to malfunction as our hero climbs the dilapidated tower. Warren is isolated, and the flying madman is close to snatching him. But in a last-ditch effort, Venom lashes out, collapsing the building's supports, snapping the madman's glider, then leaping from the high floor. An explosion temporarily makes the symbiote half unravel, but Venom forces it to stay, then shoots his arms up to build a symbiotic parachute, allowing him and Warren to land safely. The helicopter then arrives. Venom wants to stay to hunt down the madman, but a radio in his ear tells him otherwise.
Negative. Your time's almost up. Return to base.
So, reluctantly, he follows orders. We pick up stateside, specifically at Horizon Labs, a top security, top clearance military installation on the outskirts of a made-up East Coast American city. Let's call it Doverton, and meet our cast. The host of the Venom symbiote is Eugene Flash Thompson. Yes, that Flash Thompson. He's a military man who was plucked from a special training program to be the subject of Project Venom, wherein he is bonded to the extraterrestrial creature. The head of the project is Dr. Tiberius Stone, a stern, no-nonsense scientist who oversees Flash's post-mission checkup and acts as a bridge between the team and the military. Whereas the one who does the checkup directly is the vice president of the project, Dr. CK. Said routine checkup monitors Flash's vitals, and we get some insight into the relationship between man and alien. See, Flash and the symbiote aren't permanently bonded. They only pair in 3-hour-long chunks. Anything beyond that could lead to a process CK refers to as symbiosis, and a potential loss of control that would see Flash either go insane, be consumed, or both. During this section, we get a debriefing of the mission Flash just went on. Dr. Warren is a VIP sought by the US government for his advances in the field of genetic research and cloning, and is thus being brought in to assist on Project Venom and other experiments. After a period of interrogation, of course. When Flash asks about the legality of Warren's methods, though, Stone brushes him off, whereas CK delicately assures that Warren will be monitored. We also get a debriefing on the flying madman Flash faced, Jack-O-Lantern, a rising star in the underworld, operating mostly out of Europe as a hitman/mercenary. The US government has thus far been unsuccessfully hunting him. Flash laments that he wasn't allowed to take the assassin down, but Stone snidely comments that if he tried, he would have failed, died, and lost them the symbiote. Cue a training montage that simultaneously allows us to learn more about the characters and Venom. Flash is new-ish to the suit, but has taken to it quite nicely. As Agent Venom, he has abilities that basically mimic Spider-Man, who he can or cannot reference. Super strength, speed, agility, symbiotic webbing, etc. However, he suffers a weakness to fire, as shown earlier, as well as specific frequencies/amplitudes of sound. As Flash Thompson, our hero is a regular dude, with a relatively cordial, if distant, relationship with the team at Horizon Labs, whose repeated motto is, "Find the will," and a fairly adversarial relationship with Dr. Stone, who is smug and mean, and a somewhat friendly, somewhat flirty relationship with CK, who is kinder and more relatable. Said relationships are only explored briefly though, because duty once again calls. Dr. Warren has revealed the location of a secret lab within the Appalachian Mountains that contains a timed detonator, triggered by his abduction by the US government, which, if he specifically isn't there to type in the password, will release a gene-altering virus across Appalachia. So the military establishes a convoy to drive the good doctor through the woodlands into the mountains, which includes both Flash as the brawn and CK as the brains. But an ambush strikes, triggering a chase. Motorcycles and Humvees peel from the forestry to assault the convoy, while Jack-O-Lantern swoops down from above to join the attack. Flash suits up and fights, leaping from car to car as he takes down assailants. But this draws Jack's attention, instigating a clash between the two. Jack manages to flip Warren and CK's Humvee to send it tumbling into the forest. Flash follows to protect the two, gaining the upper hand. But when Warren flees, Jack zips away and grabs him.
Find this hero!
Then he throws a pumpkin bomb at a trapped CK. Flash has half a second to decide between two scientists, and he does, leaping in front of CK. Our hero awakens a few seconds later amidst the fire and rubble from the explosion. The blast has torn off a lot of the symbiote, exposing Flash's skin and breaking most of his bones. But he's alive, and so is CK. Except, something is wrong. The remnants of the scattered symbiote that are too far away are dying without their host, but the ones close by are only partially attracted to Flash, with the rest sliding onto CK. Flash tries to stop it, but his efforts aren't working. The symbiote is attaching to CK, who can't run thanks to the rubble atop her, causing our hero to panic. Flash hyperventilates as he realizes how broken his body is and what's happening, until
Eugene.
he stops then, looking up. It's CK, who is still infected, but somehow managing to stay calm.
Find the will.
And Flash does. He digs deep, conjuring the necessary resolve, and he forces the symbiote to withdraw from CK and reattach to him, snapping his bones back into place, sealing his flesh, and regenerating his skin. Flash checks on CK in the aftermath, who is shaken but fine. Then he rings up Dr. Stone. After all, Jack-O-Lantern specifically referenced Horizon Labs' motto, despite it only being known by a select few high-security, high-clearance operatives. And Dr. Stone reluctantly tells all. Jack was formerly a test subject, just like Flash, but for a defunct super soldier program that was shut down. Jack was a Spec Ops agent who was given cybernetic enhancements and experimental drug treatments, turning him into a killing machine. But the surgeries left him with chronic pain that regular medication couldn't alleviate due to his heightened healing. Upon hearing this, CK theorizes that Jack wants Dr. Warren to do something about this lifelong pain, either by curing it or incubating him a new body, which she isn't opposed to, nor is Flash, after Jack is apprehended and Warren's viral bomb is stopped. That's a difficult ask, though. Reinforcements are on the way, but could potentially be too late. CK isn't turning back or waiting, and neither is Flash, so the two drive to the lab's coordinates while the clock ticks. Our heroes breach the lab. CK uses science to track down their target, and we witness the final confrontation. Flash tries to talk down Jack, but the ex-soldier isn't listening. He's out for blood. The blood of Tiberius Stone, who failed him, the blood of the government that abandoned him, and now the blood of Flash, who's stood in his way twice. The climax ensues. CK drags a broken-legged Warren to the chamber where he can disable the viral bomb, while Flash and Jack duke it out. Flash is stronger, but Jack is cleverer, igniting flames across the lab and triggering the alarm system to destabilize the symbiote. While the two fight, Flash starts to lose control as his time is running out. Jack takes advantage, carving Flash out of the symbiote to expose him, then pursuing the weakened hero. He uses the opportunity to stab Flash, taunting him and declaring that he's just another failed experiment who will be left alone.
But we're not alone.
Suddenly, Jack is thrown aside by Venom. The symbiote reattaches itself to Flash, standing him up and reforming around him, larger and more bestial than ever before. Then it grabs a shocked Jack.
What are you?
He asks, terrified, and the creature responds.
We are Venom.
Then it bites Jack's head off. The movie ends at dawn. The military have arrived to secure the lab, as well as Dr. Warren. CK managed to get the good doctor to shut down his doomsday timer, and has confiscated the viral agent he planned to release across Appalachia. Crisis averted. An exhausted Flash thanks CK for her help, to which she responds that since she called him Eugene, he's able to call her Claudia. Claudia Cassidy, if he wants, as long as he puts a doctor in front of it. Dr. Tiberius Stone is on site as well, and even gives Flash a grudging commendation on a job well done. After all, he saved the day. But after Tiberius steps away, Flash pulls Claudia aside to tell her something. He didn't actually save the day. He lost. Jack stabbed him, then he felt the symbiote bonding with him. Then, nothing. He blacked out and came to almost a half hour later, after the reinforcing team extracted the symbiote into a portable prison. Which doesn't make sense, because even at that point, he still would have had a full 5 to 10 minutes remaining on his 3-hour timer. Claudia does not respond. The silence drags on for a while until finally Flash tells her to say something. And she does.
Uh-oh.
A lot of people are under the impression that Venom needs Spider-Man to be interesting. But not only do I disagree, I think it's the opposite. I find Venom to be the least interesting when he/it are around Spider-Man. Because when that happens, it's just Spidey versus symbiote or a standard team-up. But when Venom's on his own, we get Lethal Protector, a goofy series about Venom superhero antics, or Agent Venom, or Eddie with his kid who can mind control symbiotes, or Eddie Brock meeting an evil version of himself from the future at the end of time.
What did he say?
The best Venom stories have nothing to do with Spidey, because not everything needs to be about Peter. My goal with this script was to create a narrative that somewhat parallels Spider-Man's story while building something unique to Venom, which is a route that would easily distinguish this character from T. Hall's wacky adventures and give us something other than your standard superhero mirror match. This story would be a foundation for future projects that expand and explore this alternate Marvel universe. Spider-Man has enough of a gallery to cycle through different rogues and their interactions, as long as we're willing to be a little imaginative. Hence why I created Claudia Cassidy, who, you comic book readers probably already figured out, is a gender-bent carnage. I'd save her dark turn for a third movie, though. We need to build up that relationship to twist the knife even further when the fall happens. Sony had an opportunity to create its own story separate from the MCU, as well as enough source material to give us a narrative that could delve into areas the MCU would not. But instead they went with... Alright, a little peek behind the curtain here. I've actually written everything up to this point before I saw Venom. I've never actually watched it. So let me do that right now and report back. Honestly, big dog, I went in with low expectations and it was still worse than I anticipated. What a mess. Now I know I was right to skip it the first time, and I have no desire to watch the squeakquels. I have a headache. My disappointment is immeasurable. And my day is ruined. So, that's all for this one. Like and subscribe, because I've got more rewrites, fixes, essays, and whatnot in the works. And speaking of, for my next rewrite... Until then, though... Cheers!